You know it's going to be a good interview when the two guests give a fist bump before we get started. Dave Morris here in the Oklahoman's Video Studio. It's a serious topic today, mental health, and a nonprofit that you have started called You Shine. There's a partnership with some students at Oklahoma Christian. I'm going to dive into all of that. Jennifer Winton with You Shine, great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Aubree Hughes, Oklahoma Christian, and among the students who are participating with the campaign to change direction.
Yes.
Hopefully setting the table somewhat closely here. Jennifer, let's start with you. What is You Shine?
You Shine is a nonprofit organization that I began. We launched in the fall of this past school year on the campus of Oklahoma Christian University, and our focus is mental health awareness, and we are really trying to tackle it from the idea of prevention and resilience and teaching students how to tackle mental health on the front side before we get into a crisis mode where we are then forced to seek counseling or things.
So it's on the campus of Oklahoma Christian.
Yes.
That's where you went to school, right?
Yes.
Where'd you go to school and study?
Interestingly enough, I studied interior design,
Okay.
which makes me the perfect person to be leading a mental health organization.
Well, cool. And so that would lead me to ask you, what's the coffee shop look like? Because you operate a coffee shop in Luther, right?
Yes, we live in Luther on a cattle ranch, and we have a small coffee shop and cafe called the 116.
What's the full name, though?
The 116 Farmstead Market and Table.
I like it.
Lovingly referred to as just the 116.
The 116. Okay. Is it coolly decorated?
It is fabulous. It's all local artwork. So you come in and we have a long community table because we really want to have a feel of bringing people together. You're forced to sit with someone even maybe if you don't want to, and it just brings people together to commune and have conversations, and lots of local artwork from people out in Luther and around the outside communities around there as well.
So that's the day job, but why did you decide to tackle a nonprofit and dive into helping people with mental health illnesses, stigmas?
As a lot of nonprofits begin, mine began out of a personal story and my own struggle with anxiety and depression that's been on and off over the years.
And what may have triggered yours?
Mine actually was triggered by postpartum depression, kind of the first really difficult bout with it, and I've had some additional bouts, since then, and that was about 10 years ago. And my journey with healing came from a very holistic approach to mental health, looking at how I was eating, looking at the way I thought about things, and finding the right kind of counseling and therapy for me.
How did you know to take that approach?
I just was desperate to get well, and so I started reading everything I could get my hands on the topic of mental illness and anxiety and depression. And the more I read, the more I found this is a very holistic approach. You can't just take a pill and be magically better in a couple of weeks. You got to do the work, because this is some people's thing that they deal with. And it just took a lot of digging.
So if you're changing your diet, you're exercising, perhaps you're feeling better, and that triggers some other helpful things mentally?
Yes, and making yourself get up and do the things that you don't want to do is one of the best things that you can do when you're kind of in one of those pits, I'll call it. And so, out of that came all of this great information that I felt led me to be able to live fully. I'm not going to say that it went away, but I can live despite it, because I know how to function and handle it and know what to do when the darkness starts to press in. I know, okay, I got to tackle this fast, and we don't mess around. And but I wanted to take that and out of my weakness, take the information that was given to me, and I just felt called to take that and do something good out of the weakness and teach it to other people.
You have developed some tools that work for you, so you wanted to share that toolbox, if you will, with some other people. Hey, here are some things that you might try, some resources to consider.
And we have a group, we have an amazing team. It's just been amazing to see God's hand in bringing the people together, because we have a very large team of professionals that have come together to write a seminar series that the students can attend for free each semester. We have counselors, we have a certified nutritionist, certified personal trainers that have all come together. They wrote the seminars out of the goodness of their heart for free. The students get to attend everything for free. And we have a strand called Healthy Brains, Healthy Minds, which is a more intensive program that is geared more towards students who may already be in a struggling place, and they may need more intensive attention. And so those are smaller groups, and they're led by someone who has the know-how to lead the students through that, and just kind of helping them with emotional wellness and well-being. So.
Talking with Jennifer Winton behind You Shine, the mental health nonprofit. She mentioned students. It's time to bring in Aubree Hughes, a student at Oklahoma Christian. How did you guys connect?
We connected through, well, I guess, shared struggles, and also kind of, she's helping us with a campaign. It's the Campaign to Change Direction, and it's a national campaign that we're doing. So part of the Campaign to Change Direction is spreading awareness for the 5 signs. We have these 5 signs of mental suffering because it's sometimes harder to see emotional suffering than it is physical suffering.
Very true. People don't know that, hey, that person's dealing with depression because it's not something you wear or physically have any sort of indicators.
Yeah, it's very internal.
Well, it's certainly important to recognize those 5 signs. And what are the 5 signs we're talking about?
The 5 signs are personality change, which comes with usually whenever you are close to someone, you can pinpoint it more directly. But you know, if you don't necessarily know what it might be that's changed in them, but you know something is different with them. And then another sign is agitation, and this can be, you know, they just kind of have out of character outbursts.
A little more impatient than normal.
Yeah, just irritated and moody and things like that. The third sign is withdrawal, and you can't confuse it with being introverted, but it's someone who used to be engaged and love hanging out with friends and family, and they just all of a sudden are just absent from that. They might fail in school, they might not be taking their job seriously anymore, but they're just very absent from who they used to be. And then the next one is poor self-care. That one, our minds automatically go to hygiene, but that can be abuses as well, abusing alcohol, drugs, food even, sleeping too much or not sleeping enough, just anything in excess really, or any self-destructive behavior. And then the last one is sometimes the hardest to detect. It's hopelessness. That one is the one that leads to suicidal thinking oftentimes. It's really hard to detect in our culture nowadays because, I mean, as a college student, we kind of live in a pessimistic culture. It's kind of the norm to be, you know, just kind of very sarcastic,
making jokes about stuff,
venting your feelings on Twitter, or you know, complaining about being single on Valentine's Day. Complaining about failing a test or a professor or whatever it might be, but that's the big one that you really have to take seriously and recognize. But those are the 5 signs, and if you recognize any of those, you should definitely reach out. But you don't have to have all the answers when you reach out to someone with these. It can just be telling someone that you are there for them and you're willing to walk with them through whatever it might be.
You mentioned reach out. What's a good place? Reach out to who? Where?
There's actually great local organizations. I mean, of course, if you're at Oklahoma Christian, if you're any college student, You Shine is a resource. But NAMI, the National Association of Mental Illness, I'm amazed at how many people don't know that that exists, and it's phenomenal. I mean, their website is full of resources and tools, tests that you can take to see where you fall in different areas. NIM, the National Institute of Mental Health. There are several crisis hotlines. There are places that, and I think through NAMI you can find resources for counseling where some people can't afford counseling, and health insurance, let's face it, doesn't always cover that. And so a lot of times they will have resources for counseling that is minimal cost or free, and they can hook you up with that. So there are good resources for when you're in the mode where you really need immediate help. You just need to work more on the prevention and awareness side.
You mentioned failure, and that's something you wanted to hit on, was failure. That's a key point, that everybody fails to some degree, and that's okay. That's part of life, just like being happy or being sad. Both part of life. Don't necessarily need to ignore either one. However, you can overcome failure and use that as perhaps a tool to succeed later.
Absolutely, and help others. And one of the things that we focus on is resilience. New buzzword is grit.
Okay.
They're the same thing in my book, but it's recognizing that we don't avoid falling and failure, but how do we come back from that? And you might not even bounce back in the same shape. You probably won't. You might bounce back and look differently, but it's the ability to bounce back and get on with a new normal.
We should also mention, coming up in April, you guys have an event. You Blew It, speaking of failure.
Yes, exactly. You Blew It. We actually borrowed this idea from Stanford University, a program that they have there. And it's a night about embracing what we're talking about, failure. And it can be any story of failure. It can be a humorous story. It can be heart-wrenching. It can be tough. We want a variety, and we're looking for students, 18 to 24 age range, to submit stories at ushine.org and be a part of this night at OK Yeah on April 13th. And I think it will be very touching and fun, and just to be able to sit back and embrace the idea of messing up and be able to laugh at ourselves and say we can move on.
Very good. Jennifer, you mentioned the website ushine.org. How can people help? How can people get involved?
Sending people to us, university-age students. You do not have to be a student at Oklahoma Christian University to be a part of this. We are also looking for other ways beyond the campus of Oklahoma Christian to get this information out there. And we are brainstorming about some ideas of how to go to other schools. So if there are people out there who know of different avenues of how we can reach out to students beyond this one small circle, that's our dream and our goal. And we welcome any students to come participate in these programs, and like I said, they're free. So.
Very good. And I guess back to you, Aubree, specifically the Oklahoma Christian students. How can they get involved with this program?
Yes. You can go to changedirection.org is the national website, or we have a smaller scale website at notokayisok.org.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Aubree and Jennifer, again, ushine.org and the websites that Aubree just mentioned for more on the topic we just discussed. Ladies, thanks so much for stopping in. Very nice to have this conversation, and see you guys today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.